First and foremost, I want to say thank you to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. If it wasn't for him, this wouldn't be possible. Low nose boxing. You already know what to do. Hit the like button, share the video, leave a comment, and let's cook. Subscribe. I want to talk about March 30th. Everybody knows that Amazon Prime is going to be the new home for PBC boxing. And from what I'm hearing, March 30th is going to host a big pay-per-view event. I'm also hearing that Gervonta Davis is coming back. Gervonta Davis also stated not that long ago when he was on camera, he said, I'm going to 140, bro. He said, I'm going to 140. Somebody got 2 people in the building already. This is my first live. Let me see who's in the building. Hit the like button. I'm still learning this, man, so don't judge me. Whoever's tuned in, leave a comment. Let me see this. Brian Simpson was good, bro. Like I was saying, Gervonta Davis is coming back. And PBC stated that on March 30th, they're going to have a big event. So shout out to Punch Drunk Boxing because he has very good, reliable sources. And Gervonta Davis has 3 possible opponents for March 30th. One of them is Michelle Rivera of the Dominican Republic. The other one is Isaac Pitbull Cruz. And then the other one is Subriel Matias. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the possibility of Subriel Matias versus Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis, as you already know, is among the quote-unquote 4 young kings of boxing, along with Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, and Shakur Stevenson. And I always felt that those guys would eventually meet up at 140 and 147 pounds rather than 135. Now, we already know that Teo and Devin Haney, those guys already made their names at 140 pounds. Devin Haney beat Regis Prograis. Teo beat Josh Taylor, right? And I always said to myself, Gervonta Davis should be the one going after Subriel Matias. Teofimo Lopez sent Subriel Matias a contract. We all know what happened. Subriel Matias had a hand injury, allegedly. He can't make the Teofimo Lopez fight for February, right? And then I remember Punch Drunk Boxing had once stated his conspiracy about this. He said that Subriel Matias wasn't going to fight Teo because he's part of PBC. Why would PBC sacrifice Subriel Matias in a fight where he could potentially lose when they haven't even gotten the opportunity to tap into his Puerto Rican fan base, right? They haven't taken advantage of his Puerto Rican fan base. So it would make a lot more sense to have him fight in Madison Square Garden a few times, maybe 2 times, put him in with some good competition. Because Subriel Matias is developing a very large fan base, sort of like a cult-like fan base. It kind of reminds me of Edwin Valero. And not only does he have the backing of the Puerto Rican fan base, who's so hungry for a Puerto Rican fighter, an elite Puerto Rican fighter, because we haven't really had an elite world champion from Puerto Rico on the highest level since Miguel Cotto. But once again, not only the Puerto Rican fan base are backing Subriel Matias' play, Subriel Matias is getting a lot of backing from the African American fan base as well. So if Gervonta Davis is going to come back March 30th and have a big fight on pay-per-view, it only makes sense that he takes on Subriel Matias. You see, Gervonta Davis is one of the faces of boxing, right? And Gervonta Davis had that huge pay-per-view event where Ryan Garcia did over 1 million pay-per-view buys. So the standard is set for Gervonta Davis. I'm not sure if he's going to see 1 million pay-per-view buys with Subriel Matias, but out of most of the guys in and around 135 and 140, Subriel Matias and Gervonta Davis would generate a lot of pay-per-view buys. I'm going to go on the limb to say that Subriel Matias versus Gervonta Davis would possibly do more pay-per-view buys than Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Yes, I stand on that. For one, this will be the first fight in Gervonta Davis's career where he's actually in there with an actual threat. And I'm not saying that Gervonta hasn't beaten good competition because he has a pretty good resume, but he hasn't been in the ring with the type of opponent where people will be like, wow, he might lose this fight. Where Gervonta Davis fans will be nervous if he's gonna lose that fight. We haven't seen him in that type of fight. Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney have surpassed him in terms of accolades, in terms of level of competition. When Teo fought Josh Taylor, I was kind of worried for Teofimo going into that fight. When he fought Lomachenko, I was kind of worried for him going into that fight. Gervonta Davis hasn't had the type of fight where his fans would actually be a little nervous, right? Ryan Garcia was highly anticipated, but nobody really believed Ryan Garcia was going to beat Gervonta Davis. Leo Santa Cruz was the most accomplished out of all of, and I keep saying Gervonta Davis. I mean Abdul Wahid, aka Tank Davis. Let me give him his respect. He changed his name recently. Um, Leo Santa Cruz wasn't really a threat for Abdul Wahid when they fought. Even though he was a 4 division world champion, nobody was giving Leo Santa Cruz a real shot at beating Abdul Wahid at the time when he was Gervonta Tank Davis, right? Subriel Matias, on the other hand, is a fighter who actually caught a body in the ring. And rest in peace to the fighter that lost his life in the ring that night. Subriel Matias is a fighter with a 100% KO ratio, right? He knocks out everybody he fights. And Subriel Matias is also, even though he's Puerto Rican, he's also a black fighter, an elite black fighter. Something that Abdul Wahid hasn't faced. Subriel Matias is the type of fighter that's not going to be intimidated by Abdul Wahid's tough guy bravado. He's not going to intimidate him with the street stuff, because not for nothing, when it comes down to street credibility, not that it means anything, but when it comes down to street credibility, Abdul Wahid does not have more street credibility than Subriel Matias. Subriel Matias actually been involved in gangs before in Puerto Rico. He's been shot before. He's been locked up before. He was really active in the streets. And it doesn't mean anything. I'm just trying to say that Subriel Matias' mentality is not like Ryan Garcia. It's not like Rody Romero. It's not like Hector Luis Garcia, where Abdul Wahid is going to be bold, get up in his face and intimidate him. That's not going to happen. Do I think Subriel Matias is going to win that fight? I believe Abdul Wahid is the more skilled fighter. I believe Abdul Wahid can beat Subriel Matias. But I also believe that this will be the biggest fight of Abdul Wahid's career outside of Ryan Garcia. Salute, bang, bang, boogie was good, bro. Salute, brother. Everybody hit the like button, man. This is my first real live. I'm still learning this. You know what I mean? I'm a little camera shy because usually I do my videos pre-recorded. But anyway, I'm just shooting off the hip right now. Subriel Matias versus Abdul Wahid is a possibility for March 30th. It's a possibility for March 30th. That's why I believe that Subriel Matias did not take the Teofimo Lopez fight. Because if he's contracted to PBC, why are they going to let Subriel Matias take on Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney? Two fighters that are very capable of beating Subriel Matias, right? Now, Subriel Matias versus Abdul Wahid, that's also a risk as well, because you're risking Subriel Matias losing and getting stopped by Abdul Wahid before he even takes off, right? He already has the fan base. The fan base is already there. Hit the like button. I got 5 people watching and I got 3 likes, man. Let me get 5, 6 likes. Come on, man. Let's get this. Let's do it. You know what I mean? So, like I was saying, so imagine this Subriel Matias versus Abdul Wahid, Madison Square Garden, or the Barclays Center, because PBC, to my knowledge, usually uses the Barclays Center. And Abdul Wahid has fought in New York a few times as well. Now, unfortunately for Subriel Matias, he didn't have the build-up, like the anticipation to his stardom, like Miguel Cotto. When Miguel Cotto was being moved up by Top Rank, he was being dubbed as the next great Puerto Rican fighter, which eventually he became, right? Felix Verdejo, they were moving him up. But unfortunately for him, he didn't measure up to be the fighter that he was groomed to be. Now, Subriel Matias is sort of like, he's being brought up like Felix Trinidad. Because when Felix Trinidad was coming up, he wasn't really being televised. They weren't really mentioning him like that. He was fighting on Julio Cesar Chavez undercards on fights where they weren't even being televised. His fights weren't being televised. He was a young champion that got a shot against Maurice Blocker. He knocked out Maurice Blocker and became an instant superstar. So if Subriel Matias in his first pay-per-view headline faces Abdul Wahid and beats Abdul Wahid, I'm gonna go on the limb to say that Subriel Matias is gonna be the face of boxing. Because all due respect, the largest, the most supportive fan bases are Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, and fighters from the UK. Instantly, he will be a superstar. He's already learning how to talk English, and he doesn't even have to, because Puerto Ricans are going to support him regardless. Tito Trinidad spoke no English at all. Just the fact that he represented Puerto Rico, the fact that he was knocking dudes out, and he showed vulnerability by getting knocked down and getting back up, that made him an instant star. But Subriel Matias is already learning how to talk heavy, like the way Canelo started talking heavy. When he started talking Spanish, Subriel Matias calling out Teofimo, calling out Devin Haney, calling out Rolly, calling out Ryan. He's calling all these dudes outside their name. If true, he'll have a fight, hopefully. No catch weight. Matias is still hurt. It's not a surprise they're rushing this fight to be made. But here's my thing about the catch weight. Subriel Matias is an IBF champion, right? And the IBF sanctioning a 10-pound rehydration clause is required, if I'm not correct. That's the reason why Richardson Hitchens didn't take that fight to face Subriel Matias, because he did not want to undergo that 10 pound rehydration clause. For Abdul Wahid, that will benefit him because he's not a full-fledged welterweight, and he already has a history of requesting rehydration clauses. So I can see this as a possibility. Okay. Yeah, Subriel's still hurt. Yeah. But we're talking about March 30th. And once again, it's not really a guarantee, it's not really a given whether he's really hurt or not, because he's not even suspended. Usually when a fighter has an injury, they're suspended. So like I said, that whole situation with him saying that he's hurt to avoid the Teo fight, I believe it's because they already had something bigger brewing down the line. And I think that fight is going to be against Abdul Wahid. If it's not against Abdul Wahid, it's probably going to be on the same card. I think personally they need to put Subriel in Madison Square Garden, Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend, put him in there with like a Gary Antoine Russell, Richardson Hitchens already turned it down. Give him somebody, right? And then give him somebody else down the road, like a bigger name. Is he's in therapy. Yeah, I heard something like that, but I didn't see it. But I am hearing rumblings that Amazon Prime is looking to host a big pay-per-view fight March 30th. And while he recently stated that he's coming back, Felix Facts, whoever in June. What do you mean whoever in June? You mean fight anybody? I mean, we got to look at what PBC has to offer. Who do they have at 140? Um, the Dominican bull, the same one that's also a potential Abdul Wahid opponent for Maria. Facts, whoever in June for Maria. That must be a typo. I don't know. But for Matias, oh, whoever for Matias, an option for Matias will be Elvis Rodriguez, Michelle Rivera. Both of those guys have East Coast followings as well because they're both Dominican-born fighters, right? But if Abdul Wahid is going to have a big fight on pay-per-view, a big fight to start off Amazon Prime, the only fighter on that side of the fence that's at 140, between 140 and 135, is Subriel Matias. Now, 140 is already lit. 140 is already lit. There's nothing for Abdul Wahid at 135. Him and Shakur Stevenson, I would love that fight. But do I think that fight's going to happen? Absolutely not. Shakur Stevenson right now, even though he didn't lose, he right now Shakur's at a rebuilding stage. He got to rebuild himself and come back to the ring and get an incredible performance before he can take on Abdul Wahid. Vasyl Lomachenko's over there on top rank. So there's really nothing for Abdul Wahid at 135. It makes sense for Abdul Wahid to jump to 140 and get that strap. Imagine a weight class where you got three champions, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Abdul Wahid. That's crazy. That's crazy. 140 right now is already the best division in boxing. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. I hope Matias is healthy too, man. I hope that I'm gonna be honest with you. As much as I want this fight, bang bang boogie, as much as I want this fight, I kind of don't want it yet. I want to see PBC get a chance to take advantage of what Subriel Matias can offer. I want to see them turn him into a pay-per-view fighter and then put him in there with Abdul Wahid. Yeah, unification. Yeah, that could work, you know. I mean, T.O. got the WBO, Devin got the WBC, while he got, while he don't got a belt at 140. Subaru got the IBF. You know what? Matias versus Rody. Matias versus Rody. That would be smart. That will be a unification for the WBA and the IBF. And you could put that in Madison Square Garden or the Barclays Center. And Rolly's the type of fighter that would that would make that would sell that fight. Because Rolly knows how to talk that talk. But once again, what's going to be the headline pay-per-view for March 30th? Think about it. If Abdul Wahid's coming back, well, he's going to fight Pitbull Cruz again. I mean, I'll pay for that fight, but I don't know. I mean, so then what? We're going to have Matias versus Rolly on the undercard? That would be fire, but Matias deserves to headline his own pay-per-view. He deserves it. I like it. I just hope Matias is healthy. Let me see who else is here. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I could drop the link. I apologize for the dead space right, dead air. I'm just trying to figure out how I could drop the link in the chat so you can tap in. Nah, he shouldn't get lowballed. Subriel Matias brings a whole fan base. He brings a whole Puerto Rican fan base, and he brings an African American fan base because they supporting him too. Boxing fans in general. Subriel Matias right now is like some of your favorite fighters' favorite fighter right now. Real talk. But yeah, Rolly Romero will be a good. That will be a good opponent for Subriel Matias, being that he's coming back from an injury, being that Rolly hasn't fought in a while, and then we can have Wahid take on Michelle Rivera or nah, I don't want Michelle Rivera, man. He lost to Frank Martin. You know what? I'd rather Wahid get that one last fight at 135. Let him take care of that unfinished business with Pitbull Cruz. Let Subriel Matias take on Rolly Romero. And then Wahid can go to 140 and take on Subriel Matias. Because by that time, they will both have a common opponent. Because Rolly and Ryan, from what I heard, that situation is falling apart. But would Rolly take a Matias fight? If he turned down the Ryan fights, because they say he was asking for too much money for Ryan, like, what you think he's going to ask for Matias, who's way more dangerous than Ryan Garcia? That part, I'm surprised. PBC will put their cash cow against Matias. I like it. Brian Simmons, Matias and Rolly. If he can get, if he can beat Barroso, would be great fight in New York. I would rather they pay Barroso step aside money because I want to see Rolly in there with somebody. Man, Rolly's good for boxing. I never really was a fan of Rolly like that. I don't think he's the most skilled fighter, but from an entertainment standpoint, Rolly Romero's yeah, he's good for boxing, definitely. But like I said, Subriel Matias, they gotta do what they gotta do to make this man a star. Don't just put him in there with Abdul Wahid right away. But if they do, that's a bold move. And it's a win-win. It's a win-win because let's say Abdul beats him, which he'll be the favorite. Abdul's gonna catapult to even more stardom. And if Subriel beats Abdul Wahid, a star is born. It's not like some nondescript fighter from from across seas or somewhere you never heard of beats Abdul Wahid. Now we got somebody unknown that just beat one of the faces of boxing. If Subriel beats him, they got a whole new superstar, and you got a whole new rivalry right there. I would like him to take it too, but Barroso is older than what they are saying, and I think he wants that chance at a title. He deserves it. He definitely deserves it. Yeah. If Matias beats Abdul Wahid, aka Tank Davis, he's a cash cow, bro. Just like that. No hype, no nothing from the muscle. Because it's not like they were building him up, putting him on TV as a prospect. He did not get the Miguel Cotto treatment. If he beats Abdul Wahid, it's like Trinidad sort of when he came out and beat Maurice Blocker. Even though Trinidad became a champion and Matias is already a champion, but for his first mega fight, his first big fight to fight Abdul Wahid on pay-per-view, I mean Miguel Cotto, right, was the champion, 140. Went to 147 and won a belt at 147. Who did he beat for the belt at 147? I think he beat Carlos Quintana. It was for some belt at 147. But Cotto's first big fight, his big first pay-per-view headline was against Ab Judah in Madison Square Garden, and that's what made Cotto a star. Bronx OG. Why would Tank fight Matias? when he has a big fight against Haney in Dubai, says the Prince, Los no box. Good looking, bro. Yo, Bronx OG, here's my thing on that, right? Um, I heard about that. Hold on a second. JND boxing, Rolly a bum. All he's good for is talking shit, eating punches. He was getting beat up by that 50-year-old man, and they had to save him. I don't respect Rolly as a fighter. Rolly's entertaining, man. He's a good entertainer. But the piggyback of what you were saying, Bronx OG, yeah, Devin Haney is a bigger fight. It is a bigger fight. But that fight is going to be difficult to make. You know, I'm not sure if why he's going to request a rehydration clause with Devin Haney, right? Because he said, I heard that he won't. That's what they say. But against Subriel Matias, he's definitely going to get that rehydration clause because the IBF requires it. It requires a 10-pound rehydration clause. So while he will be able to get his feet wet at 140, even though it's against a highly dangerous fighter, but he doesn't have to worry about somebody ballooning all the way to 160 pounds. It's a more friendly fight. It's somebody that's sort of tailor made for Wahid. But if he gets tired, I mean, he's gonna have to fight because Wahid doesn't really throw too many punches. He likes to wait and counter and stay on the back foot. He doesn't use the jab much. Subriel Matias is gonna be on him all night. So he's gonna have to hurt Subriel Matias. And even though we've seen why he knocked dudes out, there's certain fighters that no matter how hard you hit, you're not gonna hurt them. I'm not saying he won't be able to hurt Subriel Matias, but he'll definitely have a tough fight for sure. And I don't think Rolly's a bum. J&D boxing. I don't think he's a bum. I don't think Rolly is on the highest level, but he's not a bum. What I will say is this: a lot of people always brag about this generation, the four belt era, right? It's cool that we got four belts, but back in the day, when you had a two belt era, if you held two belts and was undisputed, you was truly the best fighter. Because in the two belt era, you wouldn't have fighters like Rolly Romero holding on to a strap. It wouldn't happen in the two belt era at all. Thought when Ryan was Rolly, when Ryan really thought when Ryan versus Rolly was gonna happen, the 140-pound division was heading in the right direction. The 140-pound division is still heading in the right direction. I would like that fight though. I still would like that fight between Ryan and Rolly. But according to what I heard, Rolly is supposedly asking for too much money. So I don't know if we're gonna get that fight. They're actually talking about I heard that they offered Jose Ramirez to Ryan Garcia. That's what I heard. And Ryan Garcia said that he don't want to fight Jose Ramirez. Ryan Garcia is really picking right now. He's picking and choosing. I don't know what's gonna happen with that side. Anyway, I'm about to live off right now. This is my first live. I'm still learning this. Thank you for tuning in. Next time I'm gonna make sure I could be able to send a link so y'all can log on. We can chop it up, talk some boxing. Yeah, I want to see 140 unify also. I think Teofimo Lopez is the best fighter at 140. Call me biased, but we all got our favorite fighters, man. Yeah. I want to kill something right now. A lot of people be talking crazy. Everybody be like, oh, such and such is a fanboy. Let me tell you something. Every single content creator has a favorite fighter, bro. This is a sport. Boxing is a sport. Every fan has a favorite team. Everybody that watches boxing has their favorite fighters. And I ain't gonna lie, T.O. is one of mine. So is Jerron Ennis and Shakur Stevenson and Subriel Matias. Hold on, let me see what you said. I like to see. I think if Ryan fought Rolly, Rolly would be stripped. I don't think so. Why? I think they'll pay Barroso step aside money. What I think about the situation in Saudi and all for it seems like They're trying me like the Vegas. They're trying to be like the Vegas casinos were pouring money into the boxing in the '80s. Saudi's doing a good thing, man. The dude, I forgot his name. I'm not even gonna butcher his name. I think his name is Turkey Al Sheikh. Shout out to him. He's a real boxing fan. It's crazy that Tank never fought any of the top guys at 135, but he's willing to go to 140 and fight nonstop monster machine and Matias. Well, here's my thing. Subriel Matias stylistically is like tailor made for Tank Davis. I never seen Tank in there with a slick fighter that can move around and box. But a Subriel Matias fight, I can see him taking that fight. Tank is mad and about to send a message to all of them. I hope so. Tank is a very incredible fighter. He needs to fight the best fighters already. 28, 29 years old. Start building that legacy right now. You know, he started off on the Money Mayweather tip. Now it's time to tap into pretty boy mode. Because Tank has the tools to beat anybody, for sure. I mean, has been strict. Crawford had it a couple months. Yeah, they stripped him. They did. Speaking of Crawford, I want to see Crawford versus Boots. That's the fight I want to see for Crawford. I don't want to see Crawford versus T.O. I want to see Crawford versus Javon Boots Ennis. What y'all think about that? In fact, I want everybody to tell me who y'all want Terrence Crawford to fight next. Tap the name, tap the name in the comment section. I like Teal, but with him, you never know which Teal you're gonna get on the day of the fight. He's hot and cold with fighters. He should have knocked out. He should. He should have knocked out. He either lost or looked bad against. I give Tank the utmost respect if he fights Matias. So would I. I don't care what anyone says. Crawford versus Canelo is a 50-50. If I ever seen one, no, it won't be. Canelo's too big and too strong. It'd be a good fight, but Canelo will body him. Every fan wants Crawford and Boots, yes, and so do I. Now as far as Teofimo Lopez, this fight against Jermaine Ortiz is an opportunity to kill that stigma about Teofimo being up and down, about him being inconsistent. This is the fight where he has to show that he's not inconsistent. Because when he fought Lomachenko, in fact, he fought Richard Coleman, fought Lomachenko, he looked spectacular. Then he lost to Campos. Came back and fought Pedro Campa. He did not look spectacular, but he looked very good. Slow start, but he turned out sharp at the end. Then he fought Sandor Martin. He won that fight, but it was not his best performance. And then he blitzed Josh Taylor. T.O. got to come back and blitz Jermaine Ortiz. And if he's focused, dialed in 100% with the right game plan and takes Jermaine Ortiz seriously, I believe T.O. could blitz him. It could be a tough fight, or he could blitz him. Because he's shown that on the highest levels, he doesn't just win, he dominates his opponents. He dominated Loma. He outclassed Josh Taylor. Why not Jermaine Ortiz? Oh, about which T.O. will show up. Just Crawford is looking for one, no more than two retirement fights. Boots be less payday than both Tim Tszyu and T.O. Crawford will never fight Boots. He only had one or two left. He even said it. Tim Tszyu is not a bad fight. I like that fight actually, but I want to see Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis, Tim Tszyu, sign me up. Or Boots Ennis, Canelo Alvarez, sign me up. But I don't think the Canelo Alvarez fight is gonna happen. I would take a Charlo fight. If Charlo can get a fight in between just to get a win, get his confidence back, I'll take Charlo and Crawford any day. I want to see Crawford against Boots. Crawford's not going to take. You said that. What y'all think about Boots going to 154 if he can't get a big fight at 147? Think about it. 147 right now is about to be a wasteland. There's not really anybody there with like a big name. Keith Thurman's there, but Keith Thurman is semi-retired. He's not fighting nobody. Mario Barrios is there, but I mean, who's really there at 147? 147 is usually the glamour division of boxing, but right now, with Crawford moving up, Errol Spence taking that taking that loss, I mean, there's not really anybody there for Boots to fight. Conor Ben, but Conor Ben been flirting with fighting what's his name? Chris Eubank Jr. So can he even make the weight? He will dominate there just like at 147. I think Boots Ennis should go to 154. You have some good fighters at 154. Like the name value is not really there, like superstars, but you got some solid fights for Boots at 154. You got Tim Zoo. You got a lot of good fighters at 154. He already got a belt at 147. Maybe he could take on Barrios, unify that joint, and then go to 154. Keith Thurman just needs to be an announcer, an analyst. Keith Thurman, Keith Thurman will be a great announcer and a great analysis. Ortiz is okay fighter, not one of the top 140 guys. Now Jermaine Ortiz, to my knowledge, is he hasn't really competed at 140, but he outgrew 135. That's what you're talking about, Jermaine Ortiz, right? Bruce is big. And Brian said. But yeah, like I was saying, the rumor is Abdul Wahid possibly with Subriel Matias. That's what I'm hearing through the grapevine. Conor Ben is a punk. If you've been following his situation, him and Hearn are spoiled rich kids. Hope he keeps KO. All he needs to do was keep his mouth shut and serve his band. Conor Ben been inactive for a while already. He lost a lot of momentum that he had. What do you think about a fighter at 140 when no one seems to mention? And I believe he's really good. Gary Antoine Russell. Gary Antoine Russell, to my knowledge, was offered a fight against Cuellar for the WBO belt, if I'm not correct. And I believe Gary Russell had some personal issues. I think he had a death in the family, his father, I believe, so he didn't take that fight. Bang Bang Boogie, I would have to say this. Subriel Matias versus Gary Antoine Russell, as far as pure action, that's the best fight at 140 right now. Pure action. Not pure skills, pure action. Blood and guts all day. Ben is a good fighter for Boots. UK and name. I agree with that. I definitely like that fight. Boots Ennis versus Conor Ben, absolutely. They need to get 140 popping. These dudes ain't nothing. Ain't fighting each other yet. Even Hitchens versus Catterall just got called off. I did not know that. I heard they were gonna fight, but I did not know that fight got called off. That's unbelievable. Hitchens was offered, like I said, a title shot at Super Matias, but he wasn't going for that 10-pound rehydration clause that the IBF requires. So 140 is loaded. Hitchens as well. To me, this is the best ever at 140. This is the best ever at 140 that I can recall in all my years of watching boxing. And I'm gonna break down some of these eras for you, right? We had the Josh Taylor era. When Josh Taylor was the top dog at 140, before the young guns from 135 moved up, it was Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez, Regis Prograis. You had um, Jose Cepeda, Victor Postal, Ivan Baranchyk. Those were the top guys at 140, right? Then you had the Danny Garcia era. You had Danny Garcia. You had Amir Khan. You had Lucas Matisse. You had Lamont Peterson. You had Zab Judah, an aging Zab Judah. We had an old Eric Morales. We had an older Kendall Holt. We had Brandon Rios. We had Mike Alvarado, right? That was a good era at 140. Then we had the Terrence Crawford era at 140, which was very weak. You had Crawford, Dongo, Thomas Delorme. But right now, 140, you got Teofimo Lopez, you got Devin Haney, you got Subriel Matias, you got Rolly, and I just put Rolly up there because he's a champion, right? Then you got Jose Ramirez, former champion. You got Regis Prograis, former champion. You got Richardson Hitchens, right? You got Gary Antoine Russell. You got Sandor Martin. You got Jack Catterall. Who else? Who else? Jack Catterall. We got who else is up there? What's homeboy's name that knocked out Montana Love? He's good too. Liam Parra. We got Liam Parra. We got Ryan Garcia up there, right? And then if Abdul Wahid goes to 140, come on, man. 140 is crazy right now. Too bad Hitchens would benefit greatly with a Catterall fight. Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Gary Russell is boxing's most inactive fighter. Him versus Matias won't be close due to inactivity. Inactivity has damaged some of the PBC guys. You know what I mean? Like Errol Spence, Carlo. Cepeda is still dangerous, yeah, against somebody that's going to stand in front of him. Um, the 140 tournament, I would love that. A Super 6, Super 8, whatever. Definitely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm telling you, 140 is like the new welterweight division. And for me, the welterweight division is going to have a rebirth when the 140 guys move up. Because right now, 147 is having a transitional stage. And this isn't the first time. Because at one point, we had all big welterweights. Like when you had Trinidad, Ike Corte, all those guys were big, bona fide welterweights, right? And then you had an era at 147 where it was guys from 140 that were moving up. You had Devin Alexander, Marcos Madonna, Victor Ortiz, Tim Bradley, Floyd, Manny Pacquiao, Miguel Cotto. All those guys moved up from smaller weight classes. And then we ended up getting another era of 147. Errol Spence Jr., bona fide real welterweight, started at welterweight. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, and then you had Danny who started at 140. Um, Crawford who started at 135, right? Boots Ennis eventually started at 147, but now Crawford moved out the division or moving out the division. And 147 right now, like I said before, is a wasteland. So the next great era of 147 is going to be an era of 147 pounders that started off at 135 and 140. The Teos, the Devons, the Subriel Matias. If Abdul Wahid moves up, Ryan Garcia, Richardson Hitchens, these are guys that are going to make 147 great again. It sounds like Donald Trump, right? When I said that, make 147 great again. This ain't politics, man. This is low nose boxing, not low nose politics. I don't do politics. But what I feel about Donald Trump, that's neither here nor there. Hello, know that boxing, OG Parker can bang, but Zhang has no gas tank and is slow as hell. Parker outboxes him easy. Been pretty active and is looking good with his new trainer. I'm gonna keep it a beam with you. I don't really follow the heavyweight division like that. The only heavyweights I followed is Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Usyk, and Anthony Joshua. I'm spoiled, man. I grew up watching boxing in the '90s when you had Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield. Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Michael Moore, Tommy Morrison, old George Foreman, Michael Moore. You know what I mean? So after watching those types of heavyweights, it's hard to look at the heavyweights today and be interested. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. I like seeing fighters with skills. The heavyweight division right now, they're not really skilled like the heavyweights from the '90s. We sent Wilder overseas. He just embarrassing us. Fury, look at Fury for instance. Fury had that struggle against Ngannou. That would never happen to any of the heavyweights in the '90s, bro. It would not happen at all. Why is Wilder trying to be a slick boxer now after he was doing so good as a power slugger? I agree with you. Deontay Wilder should continue to do what got him there. He doesn't have to switch up. Just tighten up his defense, tighten up his fundamentals. But what brought you there, just work on that and perfect it. Get better with it. Don't try to just go away from that. I agree with you on that. Jose Cepeda is still at 140. I think so. I think so. I grew up watching boxing when they went 15 rounds. How old are you? Because I wasn't watching boxing when it was 15 rounds. I knew about it. I did my research, but I wasn't like watching it at that time. I don't think I was even born. I wasn't alive at that time. But I know about the 15 round days. The Ram went 15 rounds with Tommy Hearns. I mean with Marvin Hagler. AJ versus Ngannou. I want to root for AJ because for the state of boxing, he's a heavyweight. I want AJ to win. But once again, this goes with my case about this era of heavyweights. If it was Ngannou against Lennox Lewis, I would tell you Ngannou hands down. The fact that I'm not even able to give you a clear winner, that goes to show you how no, I'm not feeling the heavyweights, man. I'm not I'm not impressed. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm not impressed. I had a lot of hope for Jared Anderson to be that skilled heavyweight, but his heart doesn't seem to be in the sport the way we need it to be. I was high on Jared Anderson at one point. We got to see more. It changed over to 12 rounds in the late 80s, early 90s. The late 80s is around the time when I started watching boxing, like live on TV. Not, old fights. I'm talking about actually live on TV on HBO when it was airing. Riddick Bowe would have beaten all the heavyweight fighters now in days. Absolutely. Absolutely. Only thing about Riddick Bowe, he didn't live up to his full potential. I mean, he did become the heavyweight champion of the world, but he wasn't dedicated fully to boxing. So his career, his reign didn't last long. Riddick Bowe, after beating Evander Holyfield, he wasn't the same fighter after that. He got lazy and he didn't have the type of run that he could have had. Lennox Lewis ended up turning out to be the better heavyweight at the end of the day. Lennox Lewis, his resume is crazy. I actually got Lennox Lewis at probably number 3 or number 4 in top 10 greatest heavyweights of all time. But Riddick Bowe would have definitely beaten all the heavyweights that we got right now had he fought today with the skills that he had back then. Absolutely. Anyway, I'm about to sign off right now. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I will be doing more lives. And once again, I appreciate the support. Once again, hit the like button, share the video, and leave comments, man. Low Nose Boxing, because Low Nose Boxing. Until next time, I'm out.